Most men are chasing sex as if it's the ultimate goal. It's not. Sex is a signal, and most men completely misunderstand what it's signaling. They think they're chasing pleasure. What they're really chasing is something deeper, and that's why it never satisfies the way they expect. In this video, I'll show you the 3 hidden layers of sex and what sex actually represents to men. Not as fantasy, not as morality, but as a psychological and existential force that quietly shapes confidence, identity, and self-respect. Because when you misunderstand this instinct, it doesn't just affect your relationships. It starts running your decisions, lowering your standards, and leaving you empty even when you get what you wanted. Once you see these layers clearly, sex stops controlling you and starts revealing what's actually missing underneath the chase. The first layer of sex is biological: attraction, novelty, reproduction, the drive to pursue what looks fertile, alive, and available. This isn't culture, it's wiring. Testosterone tunes the male brain toward visual cues, toward novelty, toward sexual opportunity. This instinct is ancient. It predates language, morality, and modern society. And denying it doesn't make you evolved, it just makes you dishonest. But here's the part most men never stop to examine. This layer is powerful, but it's shallow. Biology explains why desire exists. It does not explain why desire so often fails to satisfy. That's why novelty wears off. That's why the excitement fades. That's why the next conquest never feels like the last one was supposed to. If sex were only biological, fulfillment would be automatic. Get enough of it and the hunger would disappear, but it doesn't. Which tells you something important. The problem isn't desire itself. The problem is mistaking this first layer for the whole story. Because when you build your life around satisfying biology alone, you end up feeding an instinct that was never meant to make you whole. And that's where most men get stuck, chasing the surface, while something deeper remains untouched. The second layer of sex is psychological, and this is where things start to get uncomfortable, because sex is almost never just about sex. What most men are really chasing isn't pleasure, it's what sex symbolizes. Being wanted, being chosen, feeling admired, feeling like you matter. Sex becomes proof. Proof that you're desirable, proof that you're enough, proof that you haven't been left behind. That's why the first time feels powerful, and why the feeling fades faster than expected. Validation never lasts. It has to be renewed, confirmed again, re-earned with someone new. And this is where the chase begins to accelerate. One woman becomes two, becomes novelty. Novelty becomes compulsion, not because men are greedy, but because validation is fragile. The moment it fades, doubt returns. And here's the trap most men never see. When sex is used to validate your worth becomes dependent on external response. Your confidence rises and falls based on attraction. Your standards bend under desire. Your sense of self quietly moves outside of you. You start tolerating things you wouldn't otherwise accept. You start chasing instead of choosing. You start confusing attention with meaning. Sex doesn't just stop satisfying here, it starts costing you clarity, and that's why so many men feel emptier after getting what they wanted. It's because validation was never meant to carry the weight of identity, and beneath this layer, there's something even deeper most men never confront. This is where sex stops being misunderstood and starts becoming dangerous. Because once validation becomes the goal, desire doesn't just pull you forward. It pulls you off-center. You begin accepting situations you know aren't right. You overlook red flags you would normally respect. You compromise boundaries you once believed mattered. Not because you're weak, but because the hunger underneath hasn't been named. Sex becomes a way to quiet something. Loneliness, self-doubt, that low, persistent feeling that something is missing. For a moment, it works. Attention feels like relief. Desire feels like confirmation. Being wanted feels like grounding. But it doesn't last. And when the feeling fades, the mind doesn't ask, "What am I actually missing?" It asks, "How do I get it again?" This is how desire turns into dependency, not addiction to pleasure, addiction to reassurance. And the more a man relies on sex to feel solid, the less solid he actually becomes. Because now his sense of worth lives outside of him, in someone else's reaction, in someone else's desire. That's the trap. Sex doesn't fail here because it isn't powerful. It fails because it's being asked to solve a problem it was never designed to solve. And beneath this trap, beneath biology, beneath validation, there's a deeper hunger waiting to be faced. Beneath biology, beneath validation, there is a third layer most men never clearly see. This layer has nothing to do with sex itself. It's about who you are when no one is watching. Your identity, your direction, your self-respect. The sense that your life is anchored to something real. This is existential grounding. It's the feeling that your existence makes sense to you, that your actions align with your values, that you're not just reacting to desire, loneliness, or approval. When this layer is strong, sex changes completely. It stops feeling urgent. It stops feeling like proof. It stops feeling like a solution. It becomes optional, an expression of life, not a requirement for feeling alive. But when this layer is weak, sex gets misused. It becomes a way to borrow identity, a way to feel significant without building significance, a way to escape the deeper question underneath everything: what am I actually living for? This is why sex turns into a lie for so many men. Not because sex is meaningless, but because it gets mistaken for meaning. Sex can trigger biology. Sex can deliver validation. But it cannot give you grounding. It cannot give you purpose. It cannot give you self-respect. And it cannot give you a stable sense of who you are. Those things have to be built. And until they are, sex will keep feeling powerful and strangely empty at the same time. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes relevant. Stoicism never asked men to deny desire. It never asked men to pretend impulses don't exist. It asked something far more demanding: who is in command? Because there's a difference between experiencing desire and being ruled by it. When desire is in control, the man becomes reactive. He chases, he negotiates his standards. He lets impulse decide his direction, not loudly, quietly. But when the man is in control, desire changes. It doesn't disappear, it gets contained. Sex stops being a force that pulls him off course and becomes something that fits inside a life with structure. This is the Stoic distinction most people miss. Mastery is not suppression. Mastery is command. The man who commands his instincts is calmer, more selective, less desperate. And paradoxically, this is when desire loses its grip. Not because it's rejected, but because it's no longer needed to prop up identity, confidence, or worth. This is what real strength looks like. Not chasing, not proving, not performing, but standing firm, even when desire is present. If you understand these three layers, sex stops being something you chase and starts becoming something you understand. Not as a goal, not as a shortcut, but as a signal pointing to something deeper. Biology tells you what you want, validation tells you what you fear, and existential grounding tells you who you are without either. Most men never slow down enough to separate those layers. They just keep chasing the surface and wondering why it never feels like enough. So I'll leave you with this. When you think about sex, which layer do you recognize most? Is it impulse, validation, or something deeper that's been neglected? Drop down in the comments below. Thanks for being here. Have a great day. The video on the left is being recommended by YouTube, and the one on the right was handpicked by me to you. Enjoy either one.